and welcome to this, the opening ceremony of Watches and Wonders 2023. My name is Belle Donati and I will be your host tonight, as well as all the way through the week on The Late Show, which is part of the broadcast offering we have here at the Salon this year. You are very welcome to come and watch the show or follow it on watchesandwonders.com. Now, many of you, like me, will have traveled to be here tonight. Geneva is the heart of the watchmaking world, after all. And it's that connection between the city of Geneva and the art of watchmaking that we will be exploring during this week-long salon here. For the first time, Geneva will take center stage. Many a time, it's been the backdrop to the salon. But this year, its heart will literally beat to the rhythm of watchmaking movements. It'll welcome inhabitants, the Geneva inhabitants, as well as an international audience to celebrate watchmaking. You'll be seeing the same on the stands as well. This year is a tribute to centuries of watchmaking savoir-faire, as well as opening up to new audiences. The watchmaker's craft will be on display here to be handed on to future generations. Now, with all that in mind, I'd like to welcome to the stage the following people. Monsieur le Président du Conseil d'État, Monsieur le Président du Grand Conseil, Madame la Conseillère d'État et Monsieur le Conseiller d'État, Mesdames les représentantes et Messieurs les représentants des autorités communales, Monsieur le Président de la Fédération de l'Industrie horlogère suisse, Monsieur le Président et Monsieur le Directeur général de Palexpo, Monsieur le Président des hôteliers de Genève, Messieurs les membres du Conseil de fondation de la Watches and Wonders Geneva Foundation, Messieurs les membres du Comité des exposants,
distinguished members of the Exhibitors Committee, distinguished CEOs, ladies and gentlemen.
And now, to give you a sense of the spirit of the Salon this year, I'd like to welcome to the stage le Président du Conseil d'État, Monsieur Mauro Poggia, and the President of la Watches and Wonders Geneva Foundation, Monsieur Jean-Frédéric Dufour. A round of applause, please. Well, thank you very much for being here with us, representing Geneva and, of course, the Salon this year. So we have both sides of this exciting event on show here. This is the first day, the opening day of the Salon. I'd like to know, first of all, from you, Monsieur Dufour, what would you like the Salon to come to represent?
Okay, hello everybody. We're all very excited actually to be here. I'm super excited to be the president of that fair, you can imagine. I was expecting to be president of such an event for my lifetime, actually. No, that's joke apart. For Geneva, it's very important because we think that, you know, the watch industry has to showcase his savoir-faire, his knowledge to the world at least once per year. And we think that Geneva is maybe the best location for doing that. We have 60,000 people working in the watch industry. You know, it's these people not always have a chance to. Okay, I don't know exactly how many brands, but there is also a lot of brands. And having a salon like this gives a chance to all the
48 brands here.
48 brands, 49 brands here, but there's also many brands outside the salon. So we have to talk to about the watch industry as a whole. And what we want to do is to have as many people focusing on the watch industry for a week, actually. This is my main focus as the president of the Watches and Wonders.
And so this idea, essentially, of one voice for the whole of the watchmaking industry, which is pretty much a first, really. What about for you, Monsieur Poggia? For you, what does this salon represent? What would you like it to represent?
Alors d'abord, je voudrais vous remercier pour cette invitation. C'est un grand plaisir.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure to attend an important event like this. It's really important for Geneva. What we would like to see, of course, is that Watches and Wonders should be a symbol of Geneva. Geneva, as a city, is fond of traditions. We have very strong roots. It's a city which has always wanted to represent precision and the care which it applies to all its tasks. We want to be open to the rest of the world, and I'm sure that this salon is an example of such an openness. Our values of openness and humanity, we would like those values also to be conveyed by this salon, as well as precision, which has also always been a feature of our canton and what we do.
You're completely right. I mean, you know, we live in a world where everything becomes digital. It's very difficult to have some emotional experience, and we're convinced that on a long term, not maybe short term, and this is a bit the challenge we have as a salon. You know, we're here in Geneva, and you have a lot of competition actually around the world nowadays. Maybe 30 years ago, when I started in the watch industry, there were just Basel and Geneva. They were the two main locations for showcasing watches. But obviously nowadays you have many other places who can be as good as what we are. And being here in Switzerland makes us different, and we have to, you know, show how we can be different. And we're closest to the factories, we're closest to actually the roots of the watch industry, the culture of the watch industry. And showing it here in Switzerland makes it completely different than showing it in any different place of the world.
We've talked a little bit about tradition. Well, Mr. Poggia mentioned tradition and this idea. Watchmaking is associated very much with tradition. But here, this year, there's very much a future-facing, forward-facing notion as well, for future generations, innovations. What would you say to that, Mr. Dufour, first of all? Is that where the watch industry needs to go?
Of course, I mean, I can't speak as a brand, yeah, but everybody knows here for which brand I'm working for. But anyway, that's not the point. I mean, if we talk about Watches and Wonders, I think that, you know, we can't just have a couple of brands having the money to spread the message around the world, but we also need to be, as an industry as a whole. So an industry means big brands, big companies, small companies, middle-sized companies, any companies actually. And it's very important that we, as I said at the beginning, at one point in the year, we can showcase, we can show to the world that, you know, wearing watches, it's something which is trendy, which is even for the youngest generation, which are not used to wear watches. They're used to see everything on the screen, and they're not necessarily very attracted by having the time on the wrist, you know. So we have to, you know, I mean, yeah, keep it, you know, at the maybe not the top of the priority, but we have to try to be as much as we can on the top of the list.
And Mr. Poggia, is that the same for you? Do you have the young in mind?
Je crois qu'aujourd'hui, personne n'est crédible s'il n'est pas...
I think today you're not credible if you're not innovative, if you're not a bit audacious and bold. And I think that's a feature of the watchmaking industry, which, as I said, is anchored in its values. The history, the watchmaking industry is very old, and Geneva's history in watchmaking goes way back to the middle of the 16th century. We've had our ups, or they've had their ups and their downs. Like in all marriages, it's not always a dance on roses. Calvinism, for example, at one point tried to put a damper on the jewel-like aspect of watches, but even Calvinism, with its sobriety, did not manage to put a stop to watchmaking. Okay, a watch can be a jewel, but a watch is also something which helps mankind to keep a track of the most important thing, which is time. In French, the second hand is called la trotteuse. It trots. And I think it's the same for us. We have to trot. We have to trot forward. We have to look forwards. Of course, we can look back on our long history, but we have to look forward. We are based on a strong tradition, and we can look forward.
Really going very quickly forward, the inevitable march of time, essentially, but also with that backward look, looking forward, looking backwards as well. Mr. Dufour, it's the first time possibly that the Salon has been open to the public. Is that something you see that's important for the future of the Salon, that it opens its doors to everybody?
Definitely. At the beginning, you know, it was like a B2B salon, you know, mainly oriented for business retailers coming from all around the world. And you can imagine that in one week, the brands here in the room, the CEO that are here, can have contact with about 80% of their, or even more, maybe some of them 100%, but the majority of the customers in 1 week. So it means that you have the whole world coming to Geneva, and you can get some feelings and feedbacks from them. So it's key. And why adding the grand public? It's a good question, but we had a lot of discussion about it, and we think that having the public is adding a new dimension of to the Salon. It was a little bit perceived in Geneva as a club of, rich watch brand, and we said, no, actually, watches is for everybody. So we would like to make it like a local event, important event, and like I would say in French, plus on est de fous, plus on rigole. And more people we have, the better it's going to be for the brands, actually. And also to show to the public that they can see the watch, touch the watch, and not only see them on the screen and through digital launches or things like this. So it's and you have a lot of, we sold for the weekend 10,000 tickets to the public. It's a lot of people, actually, It's for a niche industry like we are. In Geneva, 10,000 people coming from, I think some are coming from far away, actually, to visit the Salon. I think it's a great success. So I hope that maybe next year we'll be open every day. I don't know. We sold 35,000 nights, We are in more than 70 different hotels. We work with 50 different restaurants. I have people from different industry, not necessarily the watch industry, calling me and saying, what you're doing for Geneva is great because it's bringing a kind of business vibes that we need, actually.
And we may hold you to that. We may hold you to that. We heard it here first that the Salon might be open another year, even more days to the public. Mr. Poggia, I'd love to know from you whether, number one, you agree with this sentiment of opening up to the city, to everybody, but also what you're expecting within Geneva, in the town that, that is yours.
Oui, je crois d'abord il faut remercier et féliciter.
I think, first of all, I'd like to thank and compliment everyone who's organized Watches and Wonders for the way it's been done. I'd like to thank the teams. They've done fantastically well. In 1991, looking back, there was the International Salon of Haute Horlogerie. There were 5 brands represented. So you see, come a long way. And this is an achievement made by many men and women. So they're in the room. Let's give them a hand.
Effectivement, donc nous attendons
Indeed.
Que ce salon
we expect that thanks to this salon, the fine watchmaking industry will become even more widely known and admired. The fact that this year the salon is also open to the wider public for 2 days is a great way to involve the population even more. I told you about this love story between Geneva and watches, and there really is a lot of affection for watches in general on the part of the Geneva population, and that's why many want to come here and see what's on offer. Also admire the art. It's an art which is available to everyone who loves what is being done and which is being shown here and elsewhere. Thank you. Thank you for the terrific work you do, for the enjoyment, visual enjoyment, but also allow us to keep time.
And the watchmaking industry. Is it too much to talk about the democratization of the watchmaking industry?
Democratization, what do you mean by that?
Well, you talked about a closed club and the idea that it's trying to open up now.
Yeah, I mean, we need to sell our watches everywhere, so I mean, we can't just stay among us. And somehow this salon, depending, I mean, we have seen that, we had Basel, then we had Geneva, then Basel made many mistakes, and maybe Geneva was not like the people who were in Geneva was exactly what they expected. So we decided like we had to, merge. And by being together, we think that we're going to be stronger actually for the future. Of course, part of this organization, Watches and Wonders, we have different groups and different companies, and we maybe sometimes not always agree. But there is one thing we all agree is that we have to keep the watch industry as it is actually, as an instrument for dreaming actually. We are in an emotional business, so if we stop talking about our industry, if we stop showing product, if we stop displaying our savoir-faire, at the end we will lose traction and people will turn for anything else. You have so many ways of spending your money nowadays, you know. I mean, it's the list is like a never-ending list, and we want to sell our watches, of course. We want to make the Swiss watch industry successful. It's very important, you know. It's part of Switzerland.
Well, I tell you what, thank you for your honesty, for the straight talking. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much to Monsieur Dufour and to Monsieur Poggia for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You might have noticed as we were speaking, in fact, this artwork taking shape behind us. Now that, for those of you who don't know the city of Geneva, represents the landmarks of the city. The artist's inspiration for this particular artwork were the drawing strokes that are used in designing watches. Sharp lines, precision, attention to detail, mixed with elegance and aesthetic. Here, of course, the art of watchmaking is linked to all art, linked to all culture. And to celebrate this attachment to art and culture on Geneva's scene, we are honoured to welcome now le Ballet du Grand Théâtre de Genève for a unique performance tonight. It's a waltz and it's choreographed by Sidi Larbi Sharkawi. It's a reminder of the fluidity of time. You're about to see 12 dancers. They represent the 12 hours of a watch dial, finding harmony as they embrace time and movement. Thank you very much to Le Ballet du Grand Théâtre de Genève for that beautiful performance. Okay, it's time to cut the ribbon, and to invite you up to the stage to cut the ribbon, I'd like to ask Monsieur le Président du Conseil d'État, Monsieur le Président du Grand Conseil, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur des États-Unis d'Amérique en Suisse, Madame la Conseillère, please do come up, Madame la Conseillère d'État et Monsieur le Conseiller d'État, les membres du Conseil de Fondation, Monsieur Jérôme Lambert, Monsieur Thierry Stern and Monsieur Mathieu Humer. Please, if you've heard your name, do come up onto the stage for the cutting of the ribbon. Messieurs, mesdames, est-ce que vous pouvez, s'il vous plaît, vous avancer juste?
Ladies and gentlemen, would you be kind enough to step forward so that you're closer to the ribbon? Thank you.
Quand vous voulez.
When you're ready, go ahead.
And with that, the Salon is now officially open. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Before we take the official photograph, I would just like to ask those who would like to attend the cocktail organized by Watches and Wonders Geneva, you're very welcome to head as soon as you want to the press lounge, where you will be welcomed immediately. And now it remains only for me to ask the remaining CEOs who are with us tonight of the brands, please to join us on stage for the CEO photograph. Thank you very much. For our photographers, don't hesitate to come forward if you'd like to take a